Okay, good morning. It is now 9:04 a.m. Today is October 12th, 2022. This is a meeting of the Camino Real Regional Mobility Authority Board. I'm going to ask our CEO to do roll call, please, to ensure a quorum.
Good morning, Ms. Wilson,
Here.
Mr. Smith,
Here.
Ms. Bird,
Here.
Mr. Reyes,
Here.
Ms. Enriquez,
Here.
and today we've heard from Ms. Stevens and Mr. Wardy that they will be out. So we do have a
Okay.
quorum.
Very good. So are there any public comments?
None received.
Okay, so then we'll move to item 2, the adoption of the minutes for the board meeting of September 14th, 2022. Are there any discussions, comments, or amendments?
Move to approve.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. Moving to item number 3, discussion and action on board resolutions authorizing the execution of the following instruments as they relate to the Fabens Airport T-Hangar project. A, the interlocal agreement with El Paso County. B, the amendment to work authorization number 1.1 with Hewitt Zollers, Inc. And C, amendment to work authorization number 36.1 with Atkins North America, Inc.
Good morning, Ray Mateus, Executive Director of the Camino Real Regional Mobility Authority. So as read into the record, we are talking about the Fabens Airport, which is owned and operated by the County of El Paso. This is a continuation of our relationship with El Paso County at the Fabens Airport. In this particular instance, we are focused on T-hangars, the addition of T-hangars. So I've got a couple of graphics for you to walk you through and to orient you. So what you see here is the terminal building. This is the runway here. The terminal building is here. As you know, we're working on a fuel farm for them, as well as a automated weather operating system out here. We are also working on hangars in this area for them. We're designing those now, a total of 5. And today we have a new initiative to focus on T-hangars in this area here. So to show you a little bit more detail, these are T-hangars. They're nested, so you can put airplanes in them. Obviously, that's why they're referred to as T-hangars. What we're talking about today is designing 5 separate T-hangar buildings. These 5 red lines here would be the T-hangar buildings, and each of them would house up to 10 aircraft. So it's a significant investment. So in order to accomplish this, we have 3 items under item number 3. The first one would be an interlocal with El Paso County, in which the county provides the funds and the authorization to complete the design activities for this particular project. We also have an amendment to a work authorization with Hewitt Zollers. As a reminder, Hewitt Zollers is doing a number of the improvements at the airport that we've been partnering with the county on. They've done survey, they've done the original hangar design and that sort of thing. So we are amending their work authorization 1.1 to design the T-hangars that we're talking about. And then, of course, item 3C, we're bringing Atkins on as our general engineering consultant team to do the oversight for the design activities. So all of the agreements are part of your backup, and I'm happy to answer any questions, but I would recommend approval of this item.
Are there any comments, questions?
Could we bring back the graphic, please?
Okay. Put your mic on.
On the ends, put the individual one. Yeah. What, is this something, or is that just an open area?
Sure. These two, I'm not really sure. I was just asked that question earlier, and I'm not really sure if this is open space or if this is usable storage space. So let me get that answer for you, and I'll send a note back to the board later this afternoon.
Any other questions? If not, I'll call for a motion.
I make that motion
Second.
The motion to approve?
to approve.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Just item number 4, discussion and action on a board resolution authorizing the executive director to advertise a construction letting for the Rojas Drive Improvements Phase 2 project.
Okay, so I've got another graphic for you all. I've got a brief PowerPoint. And this is read into the record, deals specifically with Rojas Drive. As a reminder, this particular, this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the project purpose, the location and scope, and then the timelines. Ultimately, what I'll be asking for is authorization to advertise a letting for this construction activity. Rojas Drive, this is a project that I brought back to you, I want to say last year, if I remember correctly. This project is including improvements along Rojas, and I'll show you that here in a moment. So we're planning a letting in the fall of 2022. The budget will come from El Paso County's general funds, and we have an executed interlocal with El Paso County right now, from which we've done the design for this activity. The design has been completed through one of the IDC firms of the RMA, and the construction management will be provided by our GEC team. So this should orient you. This is the section of Rojas that we're talking about. To orient you, this is East Lake, this is I-10 here. So what we're doing is improving some of the roadway heading east from East Lake. And there's some graphics for you. All of this has been provided as part of your backup, so you have access to this should you want to dig into more details. The project itself consists of a new traffic signal at Rojas and NONAP and illumination within the project limits. That's the majority of the activity, plus signing and pavement markings. There are some curb ramps and other improvements, but those are the improvements that are being planned. The role of the county will be to provide the construction funding and decisions and guidance on project issues should they arise, while the RMA will prepare and let the construction documents for bid, and we will do the selection and manage the construction activity as well. This is the proposed procurement
Is this the
time.
project that was delayed? Is this the project we were having problems with earlier?
No, ma'am.
That's
ma'am.
another one.
Yes, this one's straightforward. This one, I don't think we've had any issues with this one, in fact.
Okay.
It's a pretty straightforward project, too. So we're anticipating advertising the bid November 6th. We do a second advertisement under our procurement policies by November 13th. We're hoping by December 13th to open the bids and then come back to the board for award in January. In terms of construction, we could start as early as February, more likely March. Standard work week, approximately 5 months to complete. Weather days are credited, of course, and we're anticipating completion sometime in summer of 23. So that's what I have for you. Also included as part of your backup is a resolution that would authorize staff to issue the advertising and begin the procurement process. So subject to your questions, I would recommend approval.
All right, Mr. Smith has a question. Yes, that's fine.
That's a beehive out there, all the stuff that's going on with that, because that latest Amazon thing that's out there, plus the one that's already really far along and probably open already, I don't know. But this thing, if I'm not mistaken, it goes right behind that Amazon facility, so that's a feeder into, is that correct?
It actually is not intended to feed the Amazon facility, but there is some traffic that comes through associated with Amazon. In fact, there was a traffic study done as part of this project to identify the types of loads that this roadway could handle. And I believe that the county is looking at restricting certain larger trucks from using these back roadways, because there's actually a school on this section of the road of Rojas. So the improvements that we're really talking about are safety related,
Okay.
illumination and those types of things to protect this area. But Amazon vehicles are not supposed to be using this roadway.
Okay. That place out there is amazing, by the way, what's going on.
I know.
Holy cow.
Are there any other questions? If not, I'll call for a motion.
Move to approve.
I second it.
So we have a motion and second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 5, discussion and action on a board resolution authorizing actions necessary to submit a funding application for the Sun Cycle Bike Share Fleet Enhancement Project as part of the El Paso Metropolitan Planning Organization's Transportation Alternative Set Aside Call for Projects for 2024-25.
Good morning, Robert Studer, Director of Finance. For the record, so this item was taken to the Finance Committee last Wednesday. They did recommend approval. However, upon review, we used the template provided to us by the MPO, and so we made a slight modification. So now, instead of just saying that or one of the prongs was that the board was supporting the application, we've made it clear that you're authorizing us to actually submit the application. And so it's a little bit more explicit in there that that you're granting us approval to both submit and that you're supporting the application. The application would be for additional e-bikes on the bike share program. And so we can get an 80-20 match to help us buy e-bikes and keep our fleet current.
Are we going to add locations or just update the current fleet?
Update the current fleet.
Okay.
And with that, I'd recommend approval.
Any discussion, any questions? Entertain a motion?
I make that motion to approve this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes. So item number 6, discussion and action on a board resolution authorizing the refinancing of state infrastructure bank loans identified as S 2010-00102 and S 2011-00103.
Again, Robert Studer for the record. So we brought this item before you last month, giving us authority to request or continue with the process to refinance our SIB loans. Want to let you know we were the first to reach back out to TxDOT to take advantage of this program, and as it stands now, we're scheduled to be on the TTC's October agenda and would be the first entity to take advantage of this program. Similar to the last item, we started with the template provided to us by the State Infrastructure Bank, took it to the Finance Committee last week. They recommend approval to the full board. However, we looked at it and said we want to be explicit again. So this is authorizing us to sign the refinancing, but also acknowledging that there is a fee on each loan and that this gives us the authority to spend those funds. Those funds would come from the TRZ revenues provided to us from the city, so there's no outlay to the RMA, but we did want to be clear that there is a one-time upfront cost related with this. We went over the rates, the estimated savings. I will point out we have not received a draft agreement from the SIB yet. We did communicate with them last night. They said we're the first ones. They've not gotten it through their legal yet, so that we don't have it. If there's anything crazy on that, we'll bring it back to you. And in fact, we'll probably bring something back to you once this is effectuated to show you the actual savings realized and what the new amortization schedules look like. But since we're at the front of things, SIB was not quite ready to give us the draft agreement. They have told us they plan on it being 1 or 2 pages, very simple and straightforward. So I don't have that for you to review today. If something is really crazy, we may say, well, we need to take this back to the board to make sure we're authorized to execute, but we are asking today for authority to execute and make those one-time payments.
So, Ms. Byrd, you're on the Finance Committee, right?
Yes, I am.
So maybe just for the record, since some of us aren't, could you just give us a little bit of background in terms of what you see as the potential savings?
Sure. So both loans are at 4.95% today, and the rates given to us, and they were locked in after you gave us authority, are 3.75%.
Okay.
So over the lifetime, and it's going to kind of depend, but we look to save about $2.75 million combined between the two loans.
Okay. Does it reduce the life of the bonds?
Not directly,
Okay.
but because of that 2.75 would not be going to service the debt, it could then be used to make an early repayment, therefore shortening the lifetime of the
Okay, that's
the
good.
bonds.
All right, thanks. Any other questions?
Robert, what was the one-time cost of the fee? I think we talked about that.
Yes, ma'am. So in the instance of each loan, it's 0.5% of the outstanding principal remaining. So for one of the loans, it's around $45,000, and for the other loan, it's about $67,000. And again, the RMA is not paying that fee. That will come from the TRZ provided by the city.
Okay.
Question?
Yes.
What's the bottom line impact to us as far as availability of dollars to do stuff with?
Right now, so it would free up some capacity
Approve with conditions set forth by staff.
Recommend to approve with staff conditions.
Second.
We have a first and a second.
to the zones where the funds are collected. And you may recall that last year we did an additional loan with the city, borrowed $30 million that was a contribution to the I-10 widening project that's started now on the west side. So that just used up the capacity. Now, each year as the property values go up, the capacity grows. But I talked about during the budget process, we've heard that the city wants to change that. So any use of these funds has to be coordinated with the city. And the most recent thing we've heard from them is they're looking at just minimizing the impact of the debt and possibly recouping some of the annual revenues.
Application of this is all TRZ2, or is this someone 3-2?
This is all TRZ2.
Okay. And what happened to 3?
3 should be paid off in January. So the surplus has grown to where it's now double the annual debt service. And so we could, in theory, make a debt service payment in February and then make because there was so much collected last year in property tax revenue, make a final debt service payment.
Okay. And does that open up capacity for TRZ3 to do something?
It does, but I think it would actually.
So a couple of things, Ray Mateus, again, it would open capacity, but the pay down of any debt associated with TRZs would also effectuate the termination of the TRZ itself. So the zone will terminate once you've paid down all the debt associated with it.
So the city would have to make a decision to do another project before they pay it off, right?
Correct. And so if you'll recall, Mr. Smith, we've talked to the city about that a couple of times. We've let them know it's actually being paid off a little bit sooner than we had originally anticipated, but we had let them know that they had through, I think at the time, 24 to make a decision, but we hadn't heard anything from them since.
Do we have time to resurrect that subject and maybe do something prior to termination?
Potentially. I think we could. I mean, ultimately, we would follow the process that we utilize for the $30 million that Robert mentioned right now. We would effectively amend the assignment agreement to the RMA, and I don't know that we would have to enter into. There's a couple of things we'd have to do, so I can certainly look at that and outline that for you.
Is this something you would like to refer to planning committee to pursue,
Sure.
Chair?
Yeah, I would be happy to. I don't know what might be out there that would be an opportunity, but, or whether or not the city hasn't really been very active in their participation with the RMA beyond these financing vehicles. So maybe it'd be an opportunity to do something with them.
Sure.
Okay, so if you would, maybe give me an idea when we could call for a planning committee meeting.
The second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Make sure you get with
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow?
Oh, you're.
So remind me of
72 hours.
So the TRZ3, what are the boundaries kind of generally?
Effectively, it's in the northeast, so it runs along 375, and then there's an offshoot and so the original intent of TRZ number 3 was to potentially provide funding for 2 projects, 375, which was being completed at that time, if you remember, at 375 at 54. So that's been completed. And then there was an offshoot from it to potentially support a portion of the Borderland Expressway.
That's what I was thinking, potentially. And that's fine to work on that. I know that we are working with TxDOT on some potential grant opportunities for that, and maybe using the TRZ as local leverage would make the grant application a lot more attractive. So that might be something we might want to discuss with them. But I also want to make sure that it doesn't redirect efforts from the other things that are on your plate too, because there are a bunch of projects out there. Raymond gave a really good update of the things that we're working on with the other jurisdictions as well. So from a timing perspective, some of those may be more time sensitive in terms, and so let's just make sure that we've got a really good schedule of priorities so that we're not trying to do everything at once or putting some things that would be really helpful to some of these jurisdictions on the back burner as a result. Now, we've got more capacity with our consultants, and that would be helpful too, so,
Yes, ma'am. Understood.
okay. So we need a motion to approve, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Call
So
for a
moved.
motion. I have a motion. Second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion passes. Item number 7, presentation, discussion, and action on the following fourth quarter fiscal year 2022 reports. A, the investment report, and B, the El Paso Bike Share Sun Cycle Program.
There's a couple more, I
There's
think, on the
more.
back of your agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm turning it over as we speak. C, general engineering consultant team's use of local resources. D, update on the FY22 annual audit. And E, the budget transfer report.
Robert Studer for the record. So all items were taken to the Finance Committee last Wednesday and discussed in depth. The first 3 are normal reporting items that we do on a quarterly basis. The 4th item, the update on the 22 audit, is in lieu of a Q4 financial statement. Our practice has been, instead of showing some numbers that could change, instead we'll do a full update with the audit. As of today, we are on time with the audit, had a really good closing process with the city. If anything changes, we'll make sure to notify the Finance Committee and keep them in the loop. But for now, we anticipate meeting in early January with the Finance Committee and then bringing it to the full board at the January board meeting. And then item E, the budget transfer report. So this is required if we do a budget transfer amendment. We talked about it in detail with the Finance Committee. We actually included a couple extra items in there that weren't required through the resolution as part of the budget, but we wanted to provide some context to the Finance Committee on some changes to our budget that they're aware of. It's based on board action that's already been taken. So just trying to keep the loop closed. With that, just ask for board approval on these 5 items.
Ms. Byrd? Yes. Since you're on the Finance Committee, do you have any other comments?
No, I don't, because like he was saying, when we met last week, we really went through each item, and the board members truly have an understanding of everything that is going on. So we had a very, very good meeting, and also we're just trying to make sure we look to the future, for the simple fact to make sure our finance board is strong, because we even examined some of the dates where some of our board members are expiring.
Mm-hmm.
And we even went through that just to make sure that we keep our Finance Committee, going strong.
Okay, very good. So with that, if there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to accept the reports.
I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion passes unanimously. Item 8 is relative to executive session. Are there any executive session items for
No,
this
ma'am.
meeting?
No, ma'am.
Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I have a
Second.
motion. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Meeting is adjourned at 9:27 p.m. I mean a.m. Thank you.